Have you ever truly considered the profound moment when the entire trajectory of human history was permanently altered by a single discovery? Today, we embark on an epic journey to explore the very first and most significant event in our documentary series of the world's top 100 events. Welcome to the dawn of civilization. I am standing here in the heart of what was once the cradle of humanity, where the first seeds of the agricultural revolution were sown. This event, which we rank as the absolute number one in human history, transformed us from wandering hunters into settled architects of society. For the next 20 minutes, we will dive deep into the evidence and the environment that forged the modern world. The story begins 12,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent. During the Holocene epoch, a stabilizing climate created an environment where wild cereals could flourish on an unprecedented scale across modern-day Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. This geographical advantage was the result of shifting tectonic and atmospheric conditions that allowed specific varieties of wheat and barley to dominate the landscape. Before the advent of farming, human existence was defined by constant movement and a deep reliance on the natural rhythms of the wild for survival. Nomadic groups followed the seasonal migrations of megafauna and the ripening of indigenous fruits across vast and often inhospitable territories throughout the continents. Social structures were largely egalitarian, as the necessity of mobility limited the accumulation of personal property and the establishment of rigid hierarchical systems. Every member of the tribe contributed to collective survival, possessing an intimate knowledge of thousands of plant species and animal behaviors over millennia. The discovery of surplus through controlled cultivation would eventually shatter this equilibrium, leading to a demographic explosion that the world had never seen before. Tangible evidence of this transition is found in the ancient stones of Jericho and the clustered mud brick dwellings of Catalhoyuk in the Near East. In these locations, we observe the transition from temporary shelters to permanent stone architecture that could withstand the passage of many centuries. Excavations revealed communal storage pits designed to protect grain surpluses from pests, indicating a fundamental shift toward long-term planning and agrarian life. The presence of specialized tools like polished stone sickles and heavy grinding stones confirms that the processing of cereals had become a central occupation. By selecting for specific traits in wheat, early farmers ensured that the seeds remained on the stalk, making the harvest significantly more reliable and predictable. Simultaneously, the domestication of animals like sheep and goats provided a steady supply of protein, milk, and wool, further stabilizing human nutrition. This specialization inevitably led to the establishment of social hierarchies, where wealth and power were concentrated in those who controlled the grain stores. The need to expand agricultural production into arid regions drove the development of large-scale irrigation systems that required unprecedented levels of collective human cooperation. Skeletal remains from the Neolithic period reveal the physical toll of the transition to agrarian life, showing evidence of repetitive stress injuries. The heavy labor of tilling soil and grinding grain resulted in degenerative joint diseases that were less common in hunter-gatherer populations. Osteological analysis shows a decrease in average height, suggesting a decline in overall nutritional quality during the early stages of the revolution. A diet focused primarily on single-grain cereals like wheat or barley led to vitamin deficiencies that were rare in the diverse forager diet. The dense living conditions in early settlements facilitated the spread of zoonotic diseases from domesticated animals to human populations. Pathogens that thrived in stationary communities introduced new challenges to public health, requiring collective, adaptive, and sanitary strategies. Dental records from this era indicate a significant increase in cavities and tooth decay due to the high carbohydrate intake from grain-based diets. Despite these health challenges, the predictability of the food supply allowed for a demographic takeoff that altered the human population curve forever. The shift in mortality and fertility rates meant that while individual health might have suffered, the group's reproductive success increased dramatically. This period marks the beginning of the long human struggle with communicable diseases and the environmental impacts of settled existence. The caloric surplus provided by agriculture supported a massive increase in population density within the first permanent human villages. Settlements like Catalhoyuk were honeycombed with mud brick houses where large families lived in close proximity for generations. The Neolithic era saw a significant rise in birth rates, as sedentary living allowed for shorter intervals between pregnancies for women. Vibrant communal lives emerged, with shared spaces for cooking, religious rituals, and the collective management of agricultural resources. Children played a crucial role in the domestic economy, assisting with small-scale farming tasks and the herding of small livestock near the village. Social bonds were strengthened through the shared labor of the harvest and the communal protection of the village from external threats. The architecture of these early towns reflects a need for security and community, with houses often built wall-to-wall for mutual defense. Domestic life centered around the hearth and the storage pits, which were the lifeblood of the family and the village as a whole. Evidence of artistic expression, such as wall paintings and figurines, highlights the rich cultural and symbolic world of early farming communities. This population surge was the primary driver for the expansion of farming into new territories across the Fertile Crescent and beyond. The concentration of food surplus led to the emergence of distinct social classes and the formalization of political power structures. Religious elites, such as priests, gained influence by interpreting natural cycles and overseeing rituals tied to agricultural success. Temples became central institutions, acting not only as spiritual hubs, but also as the primary administrative centers for grain redistribution. The management of these resources required a specialized class of officials who developed the first systems of accounting and record-keeping. Control over the grain stores became synonymous with political authority, leading to the rise of the first hereditary ruling lineages. As wealth was accumulated, the need for a professional warrior class emerged to defend the community's assets from rival groups. Fortifications and towers were constructed around early cities, symbolizing the physical reality of power and the necessity of defense. The social hierarchy became increasingly rigid, with a small elite controlling the majority of the resources and the labor of the populace. This era marks the transition from egalitarian tribal bands to complex state-level societies with centralized governance and laws. The dynamics of power and social stratification established during this time would define human civilization for thousands of years to come. The agricultural revolution was accompanied by a technological boom as specialized artisans refined their crafts to support the new economy. Blacksmiths and early metalworkers began to forge tools from copper and bronze, significantly improving the efficiency of farming tasks. The development of the metal plow allowed for the cultivation of heavier soils, opening up vast new territories for agricultural expansion. Sophisticated weaving techniques emerged, with looms producing textiles from flax and wool that reflected the aesthetic and social status of the owner. Potters created large, durable storage vessels that were essential for protecting the grain surplus from moisture, pests, and rot. Each craft required a high level of specialized knowledge and skill, passed down through generations of apprentices and masters. The growth of specialized labor fostered a vibrant internal economy based on the exchange of goods and services within the community. Innovations in tool design were driven by the practical needs of a society that was increasingly dependent on large-scale food production. This technological progress laid the groundwork for the eventual transition into the Bronze and Iron Ages of human history. The artisan class played a critical role in the material and economic success of the early urban centers that blossomed during this revolution. The agricultural revolution was a global phenomenon, with rice cultivation independently occurring in the Yangtze Valley of China. Stunning terraced paddies transformed the landscape, supporting dense populations and the rise of unique East Asian civilizations. In the highlands of Mesoamerica, the domestication of maize provided a powerful caloric engine for the Maya and Aztec empires. Simultaneously, the spread of wheat and barley from the Fertile Crescent reshaped the ecosystems and social structures of Europe. Humans began to reshape the surface of the earth through massive deforestation and the permanent alteration of local biodiversity. As we look toward the future, modern biotechnology and precision agriculture are the latest chapters in this ongoing story. The lessons of the first farmers remain relevant as we struggle for global food security and environmental sustainability in the 21st century. The transition that began 12 millennia ago is not a finished event, but an ongoing process of global transformation and discovery. Thank you for traveling back in time with us to witness the birth of civilization. This has been the first of our 100 greatest events. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. 구독과 좋아요를 눌러주세요. 감사합니다.